These are the cookies that make you say, wait, they're gluten-free, and honestly, that's my favorite reaction. After years of testing, tweaking, adjusting gluten-free flour blends, and eating more cookies than I'd like to admit, I finally landed on what I truly believe are the perfect gluten-free chocolate chip cookies. They're soft in the center, light, crispy around the edges, packed with chocolate, and absolutely nobody can tell they're gluten-free. Let's bake a batch together. What makes these cookies special is that we're not trying to create a good gluten-free cookie, we're making an amazing chocolate chip cookie that just happens to be gluten-free. So we're gonna talk about the ingredients first. For this cookie recipe, you're gonna just need basic things. We're talking brown sugar, granulated sugar, melted butter. This is actually a key, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. Some eggs. I like farm fresh, but as Ina would say, store-bought will do. Vanilla, gluten-free flour. I use Measure for Measure King Arthur. It's the best. A little bit of almond flour, salt, baking soda, and of course, chocolate chips. And there's one ingredient I highly recommend, nutmeg. This might sound unusual, but trust me, it doesn't make the cookies taste like spice cookies. It just adds that little bit of warmth that makes people wonder why they can't stop eating them. All right, you're gonna start by combining your melted butter, brown sugar, and granulated sugar into your stand. And we're gonna talk about why melted butter. So when it is melted, it takes out those air pockets and creates a denser, chewier cookie. It's my favorite. I never want a cake-like cookie. If I'm having cake, I want cake. And if I'm having a cookie, I want a cookie. So this is the way to go. Make sure your butter is melted, but not too hot. And then you're just gonna go ahead and mix that up until nice and light and fluffy. All right, that looks good. So we're just gonna go ahead and add our eggs and vanilla now. I like to do my eggs one at a time into a bowl because when they are farm fresh, you just never know. So one egg at a time into the bowl before you put it in, and medium to large is fine here, just not too small or extra large. And this is already smelling great with the butter and sugar, and then we are gonna add the vanilla. That smells so good. Let's give it a good mix. All right, in another bowl, we're gonna combine our dry ingredients. Now, as always, I like to keep things a little bit more casual. You don't wanna push this flour down, so what I like to do is kind of give it a little bit, but then scrape it back so it's not packed in all the way. Let's be honest, if you wanna be really, really precise, you can measure your ingredients. But in my gluten-free kitchen, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna make it as simple as possible for you. Now, this Measure for Measure flour is my favorite. However, I know people have also used Bob's Red Mill and had great success with that as well. But this is the one that I recommend in 70% of my recipes, and it works great. So we're putting that in. Now we're gonna add baking soda, salt, and also that almond flour. So it was 2 cups of flour here, 1/4 of a cup of almond flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And we did 2 eggs here, 3/4 cup brown sugar, and 1/2 cup of white sugar with 3/4 cup of melted butter, which might seem like a lot, but it's perfect. Then just a teaspoon of vanilla. The almond flour is one of my secret weapons. It adds richness and tenderness that helps these cookies compete with any traditional cookie. It also gives them that nice crispy exterior that you want. And then we are going to do some freshly grated nutmeg. Again, this is another secret. You do not have to do it, but I find that it just gives that warmth that is so perfect. And you can measure with your heart here. I mean, I recommend 1/4 of a teaspoon, but measure with your heart. Now we're gonna add the best ingredient of all after we give it a little whisk. Let's do that. And then we're gonna add the chocolate, because what is a chocolate chip cookie without chocolate? Now, my very favorite chocolate chip is Guittard. It is so phenomenal. My kids always say, where are the big, yummy, real chocolate chips? That's what they call them now. So we're gonna add those into our wet ingredients, which might seem a little odd, but you can do that now, or you can add them after. Don't feel like you have to do this right now. Bring this down. So add those dry ingredients in. And again, you do not have to add your chocolate chips here if you're like, you're doing it wrong. You add the chocolate chips at the end. That's okay. You can add yours at the end also. This is a really unique KitchenAid and I love it, but it is different to remind me that I have to keep lifting it up. All right, our dough looks really good and I'm gonna gather in my ingredients because I think it's so funny on cooking shows when it just magically looks perfect again. We really do have to gather our ingredients and take them off to the kitchen. All right, our dough is mixed. mixed. Look how beautiful that looks. We're just gonna go ahead and scrape down the sides and get it ready to go in the refrigerator. We are going to refrigerate it for an hour. This is so that the gluten-free flour and all the other ingredients can hydrate and give you a perfect cookie. Quick question, are you team chewy cookie or crispy cookie? Tell me in the comments because I'm definitely team chewy myself. And if you love gluten-free recipes that taste like the real thing, be sure to subscribe. I share family-tested recipes every week that make gluten-free living easier and way more delicious. Let's get back to baking. So I made this dough a little earlier in the day and it's been refrigerating even longer than an hour, so it'll probably be a little harder to get out, but I wanted to show you the texture difference. Before it is refrigerated, you still got that stickiness, which is good. The problem with a lot of gluten-free baked goods is people put too much flour in them, and then by the time they bake them, they are dry, and that's not what you want. But then when you get to having the dough nice and chilled, it's much more firm. You can see you can mold it. So we're gonna go ahead and use that nice firm chilled dough, and we are going to put them on our cookie sheet. I like big cookies, so feel free to go big here. I like to leave plenty of room because these cookies spread beautifully, not too much, but just right. And I like using a cookie scoop. It just gives you that perfect dough ball every single time. This is the size I like, but you can certainly go smaller if you prefer. The goal here with a 350-degree oven, I like 12 minutes. Certainly you could go a little under, especially if you're making it into like a pizookie with the ice cream on top. The goal is golden brown edges with slightly soft centers. We've got warm chocolate chip cookies. One more important tip, don't overbake them. When they come out, they'll still look slightly soft in the center, and that's exactly what you want. They'll continue to bake on the hot cookie sheet while they cool. After a few minutes, you're gonna move them to a cooling rack or do what I usually do and sneak one while it's warm. If you've been searching for a gluten-free chocolate chip cookie recipe that tastes exactly like the ones you remember growing up, this is it. This recipe has been tested, tweaked, adjusted, and loved by countless friends and family members until it became exactly what I wanted it to be. And honestly, that's one of my favorite things about baking, taking a classic recipe and making it accessible to everyone around the table. If you make these cookies, I'd love to hear what you think. Leave a comment below and let me know if anyone guessed they were gluten-free. Thanks for spending time in my kitchen today. Until next time, keep gathering around the table, keep baking something delicious, and keep living a vivacious life.